It's so obvious. We could be hours away from an event that will rock the entire crypto space. If this event plays out, it's going to cause mass panic across crypto retailers and it's going to leave these sheep running for the hills. But don't worry. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what is potentially lining up and if it happens, where we need to turn to be able to capitalize and crush these markets. There's one coin and one ecosystem in particular that is going from strength to strength and is going to give us one of the better opportunities to be able to see huge gains across 2024. So do me a favor, hit that like button and let's get into today's video. Now, really quickly, we're nearly 100,000 subscribers, and to celebrate this, I want to do a giveaway where I'll be giving away 5 times $100 prizes in some of your favorite cryptos. Now, as you can see on my channel, I make videos every single day on all sorts of different things, from the cryptos I'm buying right now to huge opportunities in future cryptos and all sorts of other bits and pieces. All you need to do to enter is to subscribe, hit the like button, and then down below write the coin that you would like to receive $100 of. Be that ICP, Solana, Casper, whatever. And then whilst you're at it, go and give me a follow over on Twitter, and this will make you eligible to win that prize, which I'll announce as soon as we hit 100k subs. Okay, back on with the video. So what am I talking about? Well, guys, if you are looking across YouTube right now, you're probably seeing a sea of panic starting to loom. Bitcoin could be about to sell off. Is it right? Is it wrong? Well, we know this for sure. This is a Wyckoff distribution pattern, and this looks quite like a Wyckoff distribution phase. And that would potentially see a bit of a dip in the Bitcoin price, which means something very significant for crypto, because that could see Bitcoin taking a dip lower. Now, how much lower would we say? Now, what we would say from the previous dip that was down here, and to pull up the Wyckoff up here, you would say that the next point is the 0.5 for Bitcoin, 0.5, and often a place we see on a retrace pulling back. Now, this is a pattern that's as old as the 11th of September, and if it does crash, I can see Bitcoin heading into this area around $37,500. If. No guarantee, okay? But if it does happen, you will see Bitcoin taking a little cheeky tumble down. That will see a lot of altcoins bleeding out and a lot of retail investors literally panicking that Bitcoin's going to hit 12k. So I'm going to tell you not to panic right now, because there's something very obvious and very easy to look at. During the last bull market, this was the Bitcoin US dollar, and this was the bull market. You could see that during this bull market, you had like 10%, 7% down, 10%, 21%, a correction of around 10%, of which actually would be more like 20% from that original peak that happened the other day, is completely natural and something we should be looking forward to rather than panicking about. And as you look into this pattern here, you can see that during different phases of the market, where bear, pre-bull, and then the first bull, of which we are now in that 2024 year, where we might see some downside, some sideways action, we are still ultimately in a 2-year uptrend that is due to finish somewhere around 2025. And whilst everyone's talking about the stock market right now and booming, I actually watched one of Jason Pizzino's videos earlier, who's a macro analyst, and he shared some really interesting things. He talked about house prices and these 7-year cycles that go on all the time. And this cycle sees a very good cool off around 25 to 26, which is where we're anticipating to see the top of the bull market. And you can see right now he's anticipating that we are here. So whether we do see a little bit of a short-term cool off, it is just that, a short-term cool off, and we need to act accordingly. So if we do see this short-term cool off, we need to be prepared to pull the trigger and get in on some of our favorite projects out there that are going to see the best upside going forward. And which projects do we think that could be? Well, looking into this chart, which I've shown a few times on my channel, from HMalvia 9 is a flow of money through crypto bull markets. Now, you can get multiple stages of this, but ultimately, where we're at right now is probably in this disbelief rally phase. And there's one part of this disbelief rally phase I want to talk about, and it's this. Degens start finding great on-chain trades again. And if you're in any of the communities, which are linked down below, you will know that we've been finding some great on-chain trades. But most importantly, this. Front runners with great on-chain and fundamental growth will take the charge before we move into this FOMO is back point where Bitcoin will hit 50k, maybe have a pullback. You'll see Ethereum and everything else booming as well. This, I think, is the final phase of this disbelief rally. So why is it called a disbelief rally? Because everyone right now is panicking that we're going to plummet all the way down again. And actually, every time this happens, we typically maybe bounce, but we just carry on. Personally, I'm actually thinking we bounce here and we have a continuation like this, while everyone's panicking that we're going to get a sell-off, and this all looks very perfect for a sell-off, doesn't it? So how do we capitalize? Well, first of all, we need to know what the front runners are. How do we find the front runners? Go to the charts, of course. Last year, we saw the front runners coming out. Who were the front runners? Avalanche. Absolute beast of a run. And then what happened? It pulled back a solid 38%. Avalanche actually looking pretty decent, just retesting these highs right now. Chainlink as well had a very healthy break towards the upside, seeing a good sort of 4 or so X. But there was few bigger winners from last year than Solana. Not just because the price gain that happened throughout the year was pretty damn big, where it pretty much saw like a 14x from the lows of like $8 that it hit at the end of 2022, but because of the stuff that was happening on chain. This is really essential because remember, fundamental growth will take the charge. Fundamental growth is a very different thing from kind of hype and excitement growth. What do I mean? Well, it's this. Two of the biggest winners of last year were Avalanche and Solana. Why? Well, it's because of a lot of stuff that was going on chain. And over here on tokenterminal.com, this is the free version, although there is a paid account, which does appear to be quite expensive and unnecessary. You can see a lot of the fundamental information going on. Now, this here is the fees on layer 1 blockchain over the past 180 days. And you can see the darker orange one here is Avalanche. Now look at what happened during last year. You got a little bit of a spike, and then into late December, we suddenly see massive surge in Avalanche fees. And why do we see that? Well, it's because it's getting a huge amount more users on chain. This is causing congestion. But is this a positive thing? Well, I'm in two minds about this. It's a positive thing in that it's showing a huge amount of usage suddenly surging onto Avalanche. But look at what happens after this peak. It just completely dies off, and that goes away. However, if I take away Avalanche, then you'll see some other very important stuff. This kind of peachy colored one is, guess who? Solana. And look at the way that Solana has grown in terms of its fees compared to that one with Avalanche. And this is what I want to talk about. This shows that, yeah, Avalanche got hyped and excited around a particular time. But most importantly, Solana is showing a sustained growth. It's showing sustained growth while its price or token price has been cooling off and starting to fall. That I like to see. Now we can come across to defilama.com and we can look for Solana. Now there's a few different metrics to pay attention to here. If we look at the volume that's going on Solana right now, we can see a massive run up towards the end of last year and into the start of this year. Now we're seeing a bit of a cool off, but still look at the statistics of the volume in the markets. And why are we seeing that? Well, because of things like this. Solana stablecoin transfer volume hits a record monthly high of $300 billion. That stablecoin volume, still second to Ethereum, is taking away from that Ethereum market all the time. Not only that, we saw a huge surge last year in NFTs built on Solana. Going and reading through these State of Solana ecosystem reports, which are pretty lengthy and pretty boring, to be honest with you, there's been a ton of stuff going on. And looking over here at Electric Capital and searching for Solana, I used this developerreport.com the other day to look at ICP, and it's actually really pretty useful. You can come down through and you can see some of the monthly active developers going on Solana. Now we want to see lots of new developers coming into the ecosystem and gains in that part. Why? Well, because obviously more developers means more dApps. It means there's more money, there's more stuff in the ecosystem, there's more things that are going to bring people into the Solana ecosystem, and that ultimately will add value to the ecosystem. And what could be causing that? Well, the Solana mobile. Well, we did last year see the introduction of the first Web3 mobile phone from Solana, which Marcus Brownlee, a famous YouTube tech critic, basically said was the worst phone launch of 2023. However, Solana have just confirmed that they now have 30,000 orders on their second ever Web3 phone. It was obviously anticipated that the first era of that phone was probably not going to be very good. Most first generations or anything aren't particularly good. But this is interesting because not only are we seeing a huge amount of phone sales, which are obviously going to help with the Solana valuation, but also there's going to be a huge increase in dApps being built to serve this phone. If we're getting thousands and thousands of orders, you now have thousands and thousands of people who could start interacting with these decentralized applications built on Solana. Starting to look good, right? So what else is causing this massive excitement around this coin that is a potential front runner when Bitcoin gets going again? Well, as we know, Solana decentralized applications have been on the up. Mostly though, they've been on the up in a narrative that, you know, if you're subscribed to this channel, I am extremely bullish on, and that is deep in. decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And because these are fundamentally going to be supporting the development and growth of artificial intelligence, which I'm sure you're aware is an industry that's absolutely booming right now, but it can't work without the likes of Render and Filecoin and Ether, which I covered in a video the other day. And according to this Binance report, a lot of these DePIN projects are moving to Solana because this class of decentralized applications are only possible on Solana, owing to its localized fee market and high throughput relative to other networks which are largely on an EVM base. Recently, we saw Render move across to Solana. Render has been booming recently. We've also got Helium and Hivemapper over there as well. Got Solana Pay that was developed in collaboration with Visa, and other bits and pieces, such as a huge deal with the e-commerce giant Spotify, who handles 10% of all volume on e-commerce in the US. Aave is also starting to build out expansion into the Solana network using the Neon EVM. And this allows Aave to access the Solana DeFi ecosystem, which would have a huge impact on the overall DeFi space. Okay, so knowing that Solana is doing some very exciting things, is it a good time for you and me to be buying Solana tokens? Well, hold your horses. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Well, firstly, we need to identify whether the analysis we've talked about earlier in terms of the price charts and things like that is accurate. This is from El Crypto Prof, who has been pretty damn accurate throughout the last 13 or 14 months, pretty much calling the bottom of the Bitcoin bull market and then identifying where it is going from here. Now, what he's basically showing here is a Bitcoin dominance chart, and these yellow parts are when the Bitcoin dominance starts to fall, and on the bottom where you've got the MACD where you have a bearish crossover for the Bitcoin market dominance. Since Bitcoin price is quite high, if the dominance starts to fall, it will tend to mean the money is flowing out of Bitcoin into altcoins. Mostly at the start of these runs, you will see that the larger forerunners in the crypto bull market, the big altcoins, will start to see the first growth. That would mean the likes of Ethereum starting to run. That would see the likes of Solana starting to run, maybe AVAX, and a few of the other coins that had good success last year. Also, the likes of Chainlink, I wouldn't be surprised if that got going. And what we can see is a good crossover in the last few weeks. Now, you'll see, as with everything, it's not just straight down, but for a sustained period of time, this is a 2-week chart, so each of these candles equals 2 weeks, and we've been down here for about 8 weeks. You can see in the last few runs, we would only be about a fifth of the way into it. Okay, so we could potentially expect that over the next 10 to 15 weeks, we should still be running in a fairly warm altcoin environment. Now, obviously, that depends on whether we get a crazy sell-off in Bitcoin or not. But ultimately, that 7-year cycle and the liquidity cycles and everything else that's driving this macro, and forget about all this news up front that you're hearing that's just designed to scare you out of the markets. There is a lot of money flooding into the markets. That money typically goes to crypto. That's what causes bull markets. Easy. So in the short term, do we get a pullback in Solana? Well, as you know, it's all to do with what's going on in Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin sat in this green area. Every time we've been in this green area before, though, we've looked bullish. You can see we came up. It looked pretty like much it was going to slide down. Everyone calling for a bear market. You get a double bottom. It comes back up. It gets sold off again. It comes back down into this area. Now, as we're saying, there is this area that needs to hold to avoid that sell-off. If that sell-off happens, you could well see other coins taking a bit of a hit. So we need to prepare for this. Why? Because if we're prepared, we can keep calm and it's not going to have any negative effect on our overall sentiment. We know the overall sentiment is that Solana is increasing the number of developers on chain. Its fees overall are starting to steadily increase, showing much more activity on the Solana chain than perhaps other chains. It's taking away market share from Ethereum, which is great. We're seeing the key narrative, in my opinion, of 2024, DePIN, favoring being built onto Solana, and it all looks very peachy. So if we do get a pullback, then we get an even better buying opportunity and the risk potentially reduced. Now, obviously, buying crypto is always risky. But remember, the fundamentals propping up projects when we're seeing that steady growth will always support and hold a big crypto project. And that's what we like to see. So where we're at right now, we have already seen a pullback in the Solana price. Currently, we're 30% down than where we were back, around Christmas time. And we can see that Solana is finding a good level of support down here. This pattern here is, however, a little bit on the bearish side because it's showing lower highs, which means people are prepared to take profits at slightly lower levels each time. And the buyers are having to step in down here more readily. Now, there's a lot of YouTube content that's a bit misinformed that tell you the more times a support level or a resistance level is hit, the more likely it is to hold because of whatever. Bullshit. It's not, guys. Think about what is actually happening every time Solana arrives back here. It's telling us that every time we're getting people being prepared to sell at lower prices, and we're getting people arriving here that can prop up the price. We can see a very swift buy off here. It comes back in. We get a strong buyout here. The next time it comes back in, a slightly less strong buyout here. We're running out of buyers. When there's less buyers who are prepared to step in at this level, we eventually get to a point where the price level can't hold anymore. The number of sellers outweighs the buyers, and guess what? It slips. But where does it slip to? Well, in my opinion, Solana has a buy zone that sits around here at $72 or $73. Now, personally, someone who's been in Solana multiple times and got in and out throughout the last year, capitalizing on these big pushes and waiting for these pullbacks, I'm patiently waiting to see what happens. I think if Bitcoin actually suddenly turns around here and says, actually, we're going to go, then you can tell what would happen with Solana, and it's quite simple to see. It would tell me that Solana will end up back here around $96, which would be around 9% higher. And then I would expect to break beyond and then higher. So we've got two ways that we can look at this. If Solana does break here, it will probably pull back into this zone. And then if it carries on, this would give us a nice buying opportunity somewhere around here. But if we're impatient, right now this green box indicates that maybe this is not a terrible price to be buying. If I had $100 to my name, I'd put maybe $50 in here and then have a limit order set down here for another $50. Now, obviously, I'm not telling you to buy it. It could go down all the way. Solana obviously could go lower, could go to around $53. I don't think it's going to happen though. I'm still very bullish, guys, because the overall sentiment doesn't really matter. We want to see the sentiment flipping more bearish before we can anticipate pushes higher. I think a good Bitcoin shakeout like this would happen very quickly, and it would cause mass panic before suddenly building back up again. And therefore, when it comes to Solana, we need to basically be prepared for if that happens. So how do we prepare correctly? Because this could happen in the space of like 20 minutes and we can miss it. Well, very, very simply, if you go to that link down below in the description, you can come across and you can use a MEXC. And I'm going to show you how to use MEXC to make a limit order. And the reason we use MEXC, guys, and not Coinbase is because Coinbase's fees are sometimes up to 10%. 10% means that if you're putting down $100, you lose $10. And then if you try and sell it back in something else, you lose another $10. Now you're at $80, which means you need to make 20% just to break even. MEXC, however, 0.1% spot maker taker fees. Insanely low, and the lowest pretty much in terms of futures trading in the entire crypto space, with over 4,000 different altcoins on offer. Now, if you're in the US, you might not be able to access MEXC. All you need to do, guys, is go down again, click on this NordVPN link, and you will get 4 months for free if you join through my link, and that will allow you to position yourself in a different country and to be able to access exchanges like MEXC. If you click on Get NordVPN, it's £2.40, which is like $2.50 per month, which is like the price of a cup of coffee. And then you're going to be able to access something like this, where I can be like, well, I can't access MEXC in my country, so I can click on Spain, and now you can see I'm connected to Spain. Now you can see I can open up MEXC, and I can use MEXC as much as I want. So how do we set up a limit order? Well, importantly, let's go back to this chart and identify that if Solana reaches to, let's say, $74, which might be a good price, $74, maybe I want to have an automatic trigger signal sent. Go back to MEXC. Now, don't bother looking at all this noise on the left and all this noise on the right. We just need to make sure you can write Sol here, Sol USDT. And then I'm going to go down below and see where it says limit. I just said $74, right? I'm going to write 74, and then I'm going to say the amount I want to buy at this point. You can see I said I wanted to make $50. I can write $50 here. I can press buy, and then if Solana reaches $74, I will buy myself $50 worth of Solana. Now, where does Solana go in the future? Lots of people will blindly talk about market caps in the last bull market and be like, well, yeah, that was the bull market cap. We can do a 5x, a 10x, a 20x from there. Doesn't work like that, okay? Because of this. On this little chart you can see here, we've got the yellow line, which is the token price, and the green line, which is the market cap. Now, right now, the market cap is sat at $40 billion. The token price is at $94. Now, in the last bull market, when the market cap was $40 billion or thereabouts, the price of Solana was $146. This token has been inflating, which means that there are now more Solana tokens available for the overall market cap. The token value is simply the market cap divided by the number of tokens in supply. The more tokens in circulation, the lower the price of individual tokens will be per that market cap. But since we're currently looking at a market cap of $40 billion, I don't see a problem with using this. And that's go to coinmarketcap.com and looking at Ethereum, okay, which is a very similar product to Solana. Solana's taking a lot of that market share all the time. And no, I don't think Solana's going to flip Ethereum in this bull market. It's not what I'm saying. But let's look at the market cap of Ethereum over the last few bull markets. In the first bull market that Ethereum basically had in 2018, it hit a market cap of $125 billion, which from here for Solana at current market cap value is a 3x. And it wouldn't surprise me if Solana has the ability to see a market cap somewhere near what Ethereum saw in the last bull market, $559 billion. So 559 then simply divided by 38 gives us around a 14x. And that's at the current valuation. If it slid down to around $74 a token, then you'd obviously get around 10% better on that, which could look like a 15, maybe a 16x if things go really well. And who knows, maybe it goes bigger. I think, from my own personal opinion, that's one of the more guaranteed plays out there in the entire crypto space. So obviously nothing in crypto is guaranteed, but I think if you look at all the positive things going on in Solana right now, the downside potential isn't too brutal, and that upside potential is very, very positive. So let me know your thoughts down below. Hopefully you've subscribed by now, hit the like button, and I will see you tomorrow in another video. Bye bye.